Welcome back to Marta from Sparta. In this episode, we will make viral TikTok clay charms. This season, charm necklaces will be very trendy, and this is a topic of TikTok now. So, I am not very much a TikTok person, but I see those necklaces everywhere on Free People, Anthropology, um, and other stores. They going to be very fun summer and spring accessory. So I decided to follow the TikTok trend and make this viral clay charms. So we will need quite a few materials for it, and I'm dropping the list for you over here. You can take a screenshot of it, and I have to admit that I was very excited for this project until, but stay tuned, keep watching, and you will find out. So I didn't do exactly what the TikTok video direction was showing. I used air dry clay instead of the one which you have to bake in the oven. And the only reason for it is that I had a leftovers from the other project at home. So I decided to use air dry clay. The difference is very simple. Air dry, you have to wait overnight for your forms to dry, and with the oven you just bake it in 375 for I don't remember how long, and you basically have instant gratification. So that's the only difference. And charms should be very personal. It should reflect your style and what you want to say, and potentially some memories of yours or hobbies. And I decided to go with my biggest passion, which is garden and under animals and chickens and dogs. I also used silicone forms to create flowers because last year I started to grow dahlias. So I was able to find in a Michael's Martha Stewart form, silicone form of dahlia. I was so stoked when I saw that. So I used Martha Stewart silicone form to create my dahlia flowers. Obviously, using silicone form, it's very simple. You just have to make your clay very soft. You push it in into your silicone form, and then basically you push it out. As you see on the video, my dahlia has a lot of leftover of glue. I'm sorry, not the glue, of clay. So I used like a small razor and I just cut the excess of it. So that's, I have to say that this technique was very easy. The only tip which I want to give you, make sure that your clay is super soft. If your clay not will be soft, you're gonna have really hard time to push it in and get this form. So I did that, and I did few leaves and few dahlias because again I am gardener and I started to grow dahlias last year, and I'm so proud of myself that Obviously, cookie cutter technique doesn't require much explanation. You basically roll your clay to the thickness you actually want your charm to be, and you do the same thing what you do with cookies. You basically cut the shapes you want, and that's it. So TikTok video suggests to make holes for the chain in few different ways. Um, Technique number one, it was push the hole through the charm using Q-tip. And the other one was the technique which I am using. I bought the findings in Michael's, and I basically pushed that in when clay was still wet before I'm gonna leave it overnight to set. My feedback regarding hole in your charms. I really didn't like to have a hole in the charm made by Q-tip. I'm not showing that here yet, but when the charm was ready, I had a really hard time to push like this tiny finding, the circle through it, and some of my clay charms actually cracked just because uh, this circle, this round finding couldn't go through the hole. So I would suggest to buy these hoops, these finding hoops, which you see on my video, and just push them in your charm when your clay is still drying or before baking. This was way easier, it didn't damage my charm, I have no issues to attach the charm to the chain later on, and that wasn't a case when I tried the technique with the Q-tip. I really didn't like how the hole looked like, it looked really unfinished, and again some of the hoops were actually cracking my charm, so I lost quite a few charms because of that. So as you see on the video, I made quite a few charms, and they were done using different techniques. As I mentioned before, it was freehand and using miniature cookie cutters, and also using silicone molds. So once I was happy with their shapes and I stick the hoops into them, I left them overnight to dry. And basically they hardened and they got ready to paint. I was really happy at this point of the project. I had no issues at this point. The nightmare came right after that. I also made a one charm which is purple rainbow, and this charm is dedicated to my friend Janet. She's a purple queen. She loves purple. She's my friend, and I decided to make one special charm for her. She's always there for me. So as you see me here making her charm, and I'm gonna use different shades of purple because she loves purple. And so this one is for my friends, but the rest of them, they represent me, they represent my lifestyle, they represent my hobbies, they represent my passions. So I highly encourage you to do something which represents your personality, your hobbies, and your life. Once the purple rainbow and other charms were ready and dry, and again gauche drying pretty fast, I used a golden permanent marker to kind of add little details on it. In case of the rainbow, I wanted to separate every single layer of purple. So every charm will have some touch of both, well, except of chickens. But other than that, I love the tiny details. So I use permanent markers, which you can use also on your charms, to add additional details. I'm also adding details using darker shades of paint, as you see here, to make my leaves um, more alive and looking more natural. So it doesn't have to be exactly markers in order to add additional layer of interest to your charms. You can also use the paint, but you have to wait for your layers to dry. I really enjoyed this part of the process as well. As a painter, I really, really love painting. So that was super fun part of the project for me as well. So far, so good. I don't have negative feedback yet. But stay tuned, guys. It's coming. The real struggle is actually in the step number 3. So the next step, which I actually didn't record, I'm not sure why, I either lost the footage or I just simply forgot. Once your charms are ready and you're really, really happy with them and they are dry, it's time to put a last coat on them. And I choose a gloss Mod Podge as option number 1, as a technique number 1. And technique number 2, I use the resin. And resin is more expensive, and if you do not use resin pretty often for the projects, I would suggest not to invest money. I had resin because I do a lot of arts and crafts, so I had resin, so I decided to kind of make batch with the resin and batch with the Mod Podge so we can compare them. Mod Podge is very inexpensive. You can buy them in tiny tubes in the dollar store, and you really need a tiny tube for charms because you're not really using that much. And again, the same thing with resin. You don't really need that much. And if you don't use resin at home for arts and crafts, then you're gonna have a bunch of resin sitting and going bad, and you're gonna throw it away. So long story short, I did half batch with a Mod Podge and half batch with a resin. And basically it's very simple. It's a very clear coat. You cover your charm. In case of resin, it's very long time drying. You have to wait 24 hours if you want to add more than one coat, but for this type of project, you need only one coat. And in case of resin, if you remember my video when we made Easter decorations, you just need one thin coat and you wait 30 minutes between the coats. And it's very simple. Resin you have to mix, and you have to mix 1 to 1. You have to make sure there is no bubbles, and you have 20 minutes before it's gonna set to cover all your charms. And if you do not have experience with resin, that could be quite a challenge for you, and you might not be happy because it's also very, very messy. As far as Mod Podge goes, it's very simple. You open the bottle, you just wipe one coat over your charms, and you are all set. If you want more glossy after one coat, then you keep adding coat after coat until you're really happy, and you have to wait about 30 to 40 minutes between the coats. And it's very simple process as far, and very cheap process as far as Mod Podge goes. Okay, charms are done, and I want to give you a quick feedback. I have to admit that it was quite a challenge to do clay charms First of all, they're very tiny, so it was very challenging. Even though I am artist, it was quite a challenge to draw what I wanted to draw on them. But one of the things is I used two things to do the finish. One of them was Mod Podge and the other one was resin. And resin is big no-no to do coating. This is the one which I did, this is the side which I did with the resin, and it's definitely shinier. And this is the one which I did with a glossy Mod Podge. Definitely resin give you like a super fun, high gloss finish compared to the Mod Podge, but it's way challenging to distribute and long time to dry. So that's number one. Number two, every time I try to cover my multicolor charm with the resin or the Mod Podge, the colors were bleeded over each other. So you really have to put like a blob of the Mod Podge and then just gently distribute it. Otherwise, they just gonna bleed. The blue was bleeding to white, and the white is not really white anymore. So that was a challenge with everything which was multicolor. This is another example of resin side, which is super shiny and glossy, and that's the side with the Mod Podge only. So that's a big challenge to actually, any paint I try to use, it was same thing. If you use multicolors and you try to like cover with a brush, it was smudging. So my dog charm has 3 colors. So that's the technique which I used on the dog. I paint the whole dog gold color. I cover it with a thin layer of Mod Podge. Waited 40 minutes until the Mod Podge is hardened. Then I did white eyes, covered just the eyes with a 1 layer of Mod Podge, waited until the Mod Podge is dry, and then I did black, cover with a Mod Podge, wait until it's dry, and then I cover the whole dog with 1 even layer of Mod Podge, which is total 4 layers on it, and it came out amazing. So that's what I learned when I was doing the other charms with multicolors, how not to bleed colors over each other. So I think this is very good technique, but it's a lot of work and it's time consuming, but results are fantastic. And this is another one which I made. So this is the chicken which I made the first time, and this is the one which I made as a second batch. How I went around smudging red over the white. First what I did, I paint my chicken all white. I cover it with a 1 coat of Mod Podge. Then I paint the red part on it, cover with a 1 coat of Mod Podge, and then I did eye and cover it with a 1 layer of Mod Podge, which gives me total 3 layers. But it's gonna prevent from paint bleeding over each other, but you have to have 30 minutes or 40 minutes wait between the coats. So the new chicken I did, that's the new technique I did. This one I have to keep fixing because paint was bleeding. This one I did with a technique which I already told you. So resin. So here you have a comparison. Chicken with a Mod Podge, 3 or 4 layers of glossy Mod Podge on it, and that one it's only 1 coat of resin. And resin definitely does the job after 1 coat, but again it was super challenging to do the resin. If you're not into the resin and if you don't want to invest money in the resin, I will say 4 coats of Mod Podge and gonna give you almost the same finish as 1 coat of resin. So yeah, necklace came out gorgeous. I really loved my chicken dog necklace. I decided not to attach dahlias to this one. I just decided to do all my pets on the necklace, and each chicken has a smiley face which matching the color because I have 3 chickens. One is lavender, Pixunia, one is black, my Pepper, and Delilah is our Claudette, we call her, and she's white. So every chicken got a charm next to it with a smiley face, which is matching their actual color. And dogs got also charms saying happy paws. So I just wanted to make this necklace pets only. I was thinking originally that I will attach my dahlias to it because that would fully represent everything I love, but then I decided to make separate necklace with dahlias. So after all, I really loved how they came out. Would I do it again? Probably not. It was a lot of struggle, it was a lot of smudging, it was days of work because I have to wait one day for clay to dry, then I have to wait for the paint to dry on one side, then you have to wait for paint to dry on the other side. Then you have to wait for the mud patch to dry, you have to wait for the resin to dry. Is it worth the time and money? I'm gonna say definitely not. Um, I love the final result and I love that there is no other necklace like this one, and I love how personal this necklace is, and I truly love everything about it. But honestly, it's not worth time and money. Um, it's super fun. It's super fun to make with kids, probably summertime, because you get a tube of clay which is already prepared, and children can make these cute tiles and they can color them. Yes, as a family activity on rainy days, on summer, on cold days, on winter, on super rainy days at fall. Yes, it's a super fun project if you have a lot of time on your hands. After all, I have to say that it was a nightmare to me. I am very crafty person. It was a lot of work, a lot of steps, and a lot of time into it when you can buy a charm for $1 in the store. The only difference is the charms in the store not gonna be very personal as the charms which you're gonna make your own. So yes, from the artist perspective, I really love the artistic side of it. I really love that they are so personal. I really love that there's no other charms like mine, and I really love how they came out. But from all the projects I do and I tried, it was a lot of work, a lot. And I have to admit and give you this feedback because I promised to give you constructive criticism and constructive feedback. It's not worth the money and the time, but I love the trend, and probably I'm gonna go to Michael's, buy few amazing charms, and make another charm necklace which gonna complement the necklaces which I already made.
And hey, if you have expensive taste like me and you want to keep your bank account happy as well, this is the right place for you. Thank you for watching. I will see you next week.